Welcome to Revive Ministries Podcast. As we enter the month of August, I'm reminded of communities and how many different communities we live in and how that could play an impact in someone's wellness. In the States, August is National Wellness Month, and it really prioritizes on our own self-care, whatever that looks like. And me working in the mental health field, I don't like reinventing the wheel, so I do encourage you to find what resources may be helpful for you. One of the hardest things for adults or for us even to say is three words: I need help. So again, I have a new guest. Her name is Dr. Heather Browne. Right, I thank you so much for joining us and just being part of the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I just want to give a little disclaimer for those people in the States. 988 is a suicide crisis lifeline, but I encourage you to go beyond that. Whatever helps you, whatever communities you're in, just tell someone if you need help, if you are struggling. Again, thank you so much. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. I always kind of say that people say better than I do. I'm not shy about it. I know there's a lot of great quotes out there. There's one in particular just kind of started our conversation. It's from David Spangler, and he says it this way. He says, some people think that they're in a community, but they're only in proximity. True community requires commitment and openness. It's a willingness to extend yourself to encounter and know the other. What comes to mind when you hear this quote?
Well, I think a lot of us may find that the people that we live close to, and sometimes within our own families, sometimes within our own relationships, we're not feeling that we can really be open or we can share for whatever reason. And it brings up like a stark truth that we need to be true to ourselves, take care of ourselves, and that does start with us alone. And so if you're finding with the people that you spend time with simply because you live by them, or you're in family together, or you work together, if you're not finding people that you can share with, that you can open with, that you feel care about your thoughts and feelings, you might need to reach out a little bit further. And that's important because we want to connect, be heard, and we also want to help. And so if it's not happening in your immediacy, reach out a little bit beyond. And sometimes it's not that far. Sometimes it's 2 doors away. Or sometimes someone you just have not reached out to. I'm a widow. And when I started dating after a couple of years, I went out with a lovely gentleman for several months, and he lived kind of far. So the weekends were kind of reserved for him. And when we ended that relationship, I reached out to all my friends and I said, hey, if any of you are free on the weekends, I'm going to be around and I'd love to see you. And I have missed you. And that opened that door. They had time too. So you don't ever really know who's waiting and hoping and wanting. Most of us want love.
Yeah. And I feel like you bring up a good point in the fact that, defining like relationships and then the idea that, when we are nice, I was reading a bit about the idea of being nice versus being kind. The idea that a lot of times when we're trying to be nice, we're just trying to be nice externally so we be accepted by others. But the fact of the matter, we're not really defining what we really want, and I could be an introvert, but doesn't mean that I don't want to be around people. And it's just not the amount of people that really makes me feel connected. I could be in a room of thousands of people and feel like I'm the loneliest person in the world. I could be around the same 1,000 people, and I could connect to someone like you, Heather, and just be like, hey, how's it going? How was your day? What is and then really engage and be intentional. And the whole scenario changes because I'm actually actively listening to and it feels more genuine because you take the time and you measure what your boundaries and what relationships may be for you as an individual and what you would like to see happen. At least that's what I've seen. And anything you want to add or piggyback or share in regards to this?
Well, I think you touch upon a really brilliant truth, which is being nice is to please you. I want you to like me. So the
Yeah.
focus really comes back to me. I'm doing this, intentionally, but possibly somewhat manipulatively
Mhm.
to get a response out of you.
Mhm.
If I'm being kind,
Mhm.
I don't need anything back.
No.
I'm simply offering. So if you've got the choice of to be nice, it looks good, or kind, that comes from the heart. And whether the person receives it or not, you then know you have given from your genuine compassion, and you are also left with that truth. Not, I smiled at them and they didn't smile at me back, but, well, I offered something that I hope at some point they'll take in.
Yeah, and there's a degree of acceptance and kind of expectation levels. There's this wonderful word in Japanese, actually, wabi sabi. It's not really a word you normally would see. But my wife has this book. It says untranslatable words, and it says finding beauty in imperfections and accepting the cycle of life and death. But to go even deeper, the idea is, I'd like to say it this way. This is my own way of saying it, is we're exceptionally unexceptional people. It's like we are sometimes the most brilliant and unimpressive people, but that's humans. That's us. And I find that encouraging, and it kind of really makes conversations. I'm not going to be an expert at everything, but at the same time, I'm still me. I'm still whoever. Sometimes when we define ourselves by things externally, if everything is about, like you were kind of mentioning about the being having people like you, then everything becomes a response, and you kind of lose yourself of what you actually want. I always remember one person was saying this a while back, but it kind of makes me think, when we're kids, at least when I was a kid, you ask a group of kids, who's the best dancer? Everyone is. Yeah. Who's the best singer? Everyone is. Something happens. Obviously, later on, no one raises his hands in middle school. I think middle school is one of the hardest years for many people, but there's something about being more, the priority is more being accepted versus what, when it means to truly connect with one another. Any thoughts on that?
Well, from birth on, the individuality is just rampant. You don't know who that baby is.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
do you laugh, and what do you like to eat, and what's your personality like? So we're open to the baby sharing who they are. And then very quickly we start to dictate to the little one, I don't like it when you do that. You're not to do that. Don't be that way. And then when we get into the school system, it's got to be really hard being a teacher for the young years, because on the one hand, you're saying, be unique, be yourself, share from your heart's content, but yet we've got 36 other children in the classroom, and I need to manage this in some way. So there's this expansion, and then there's also this curriculum that you must follow. Ram Dass gave a brilliant awareness that once we start to look at the response that we're getting from others to decide, do you receive me? 2, 3 years old, it really starts to kick in hugely. Then if our viewpoint is, I want to please you, from the nature of that, and this is so sad, but from the nature of that, then I on my own am not okay.
Yeah.
And that's where that separation starts. If my need is to please you, I can't quite be me. I have to continually gauge, did I do it? Was that it? Was that right? Was that okay? And we lose more and more and more of ourselves. But if you think of the people that you most admire, sure, they're probably brilliant. Sure, they're probably beautiful. But you also probably feel their genuine heart or their genuine thought process at some point. What we're drawn to is the uniqueness.
Yes.
If everything looked the same and everything was perfect, we would be bored out of our minds, because we're creative beings. And we're also, of course, because we're human, hugely egotistical, and we want to be the one who comes up with it or creates it or finds it. And that's our drive as a human being. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with that. We just need to remember everybody else has their drive too. And we
Yeah.
got to find a way to respect that.
And I think there's always this healthy tension that's okay to have with amongst others. It's this idea that I'm not going to agree with everyone, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. Like this idea that I could have an opinion, I could be in the process of understanding. Other person may not agree, but you can still be respectful. You can still understand. There is a process to understanding. There's a lot of knowledge and information out there, very little understanding of it in the concept. There's this one quote from Kurt. I don't know how to say his last name, but anyway, not to mess up his last name, but I do love with this commentary. I was not to date myself. I remember when I was a kid, we had floppy disks. The computers were just starting. We had Oregon Trail was on as a game when I was in the little elementary school. That's a while ago. Now I'm looking at what he says is as a commentary. What should young people do with their lives today? Maybe many things, obviously, but most daring thing is to create a stable community in which the terrible disease of loneliness can be cured. I know it's bold, but for me, the big change is seeing cell phones. I never was brought up with a cell phone when I was growing up. It didn't come till I was, in the military in 18. I finally got my first cell phone. But the idea is when you have all these family gatherings, everyone's on their phone. And I'm guilty of it too. The disconnection becomes, constant. You're always there. No matter where you go, you're in two lives. You're either on the phone and then you're kind of present. It's rare to find someone present in any given situation. So, what's your thoughts when you see this quote?
Well, I think our society has created an incredible opportunity
Mm-hmm.
and a horrific challenge for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because since you can reach someone at all times,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many potentials for intake, we lose the importance of the person.
Yeah.
You just scroll through, and we view volume as being more important than individuality. When I was a kid, which is way back further than you, we had rotary phones. You didn't have answering machines.
Yeah.
So you had to be home to pick up the phone for someone to reach you.
Yeah.
And it made reaching somebody on the phone really fun. Or a letter in the mail took a week, even if it was from your grandma in the next city. And so a letter was really important. We didn't have computers. So connection was really prized. And we have the quickest opportunity to reach the most people, and we blow it all the time.
It's funny, the biggest transition, because because I was, I think, 18 years old when I first got my first cell phone, like when it first, like the Nokia bricks back in the day, those things. And I just remember, it was free to call at 7 p.m. and beyond, like this time slot. And you had select amount of text messages. I never really got used to at first the text message, and like when now, because I'm from that generation before, I would call people like, "Why are you calling me?" To just text me. And certain ideas I get texting,
Sure,
but like I feel it can be very helpful when you're scheduling or something that doesn't require a long conversation. But like you're saying, like we used to be fond of talking over phone. How many times I would say, I wonder what the percentage of people actually talking over phone versus just texting, choosing to text when it comes to any form of communication. I think it, at least from the interactions I have, the avoidance becomes easier. The contact list becomes easier. We just went through COVID, so kind of going through the residual effects of that. I would say it's easy. You could get so much things delivered to you that you couldn't before COVID. Everything's kind of a little more connected that way, but disconnected at the same time. I want to pause right there to ask you, how do you think we may be able to do better in helping those in need in our community? We're talking about communication today, but anything that I'm kind of generalizing because the idea is supporting our communities. And what have you seen that worked in helping the community, and what have not? Now, this is just a broad sense. I know we've been focused on communication, but wherever angle you feel that is appropriate, go ahead.
I think you need to start with what you're willing to do and what you're comfortable in doing. And that sounds a little bit off to be selfish in the way you approach community. But you do want to make certain it's something that you're willing to continue doing if you offer it. And you want it to be something that you would enjoy. So it's asking yourself, well, if I was to do something for the community, do I want it to be face-to-face? Do I want it to be with people? Or do I want it to be with maybe the environment? People, not everybody is comfortable in face-to-face connection or in verbal connection. And so they might want more so to set up something for the community or to clean up following or to work with animals. But there's a place of, where would I like to offer some care? And then whatever that is, start with attending or start with offering. I know in my neighborhood, whenever someone moves in, we bake a cake and go over and say, welcome to the community. We're the Brownes, and we're so happy you would just start to reach out. My neighbor and I, we have trash can wars. Or I should say trash can gifts. So whoever can take the trash cans out quicker, whoever can move them back for each other quicker. And I live alone, so it's a wonderful gift if I come home and my trash cans are out. You can do little things. It starts with simply rolling down your window when you drive and say, good morning. Or when you're in a store, take a moment, look into the person's eyes if you're comfortable and say, I hope you have a great day. Or thank you so much for what you have just done. There's the place of taking a moment to connect if you're comfortable and then offering something. And then if you want to do it from a less personal view, the best thing is to call your city hall and to ask, what are the community events that you have that I could volunteer for? Where are you needing some support? There's going to be lots of places. The elderly homes, absolutely, hospitals. Some of it, there's going to be COVID restrictions, security restrictions.
Of course.
There's always places, animal shelters, there's always places that need people to volunteer and to offer and to help.
I really like what you make a good point. I'm being a faith leader, a lot of people, missionaries and all that stuff. You have to understand and ask yourself, what are you willing to do? What are you able to do? Because the people who are in need don't know your situation, and if you bring something up that may be helpful for a little bit, I try to say this as sensitively as I can. Helping people is inconvenient. Let's be honest. Yeah. And the reason that it's hard is why it needs to be done. It's just, are you going to be part of it, or what part of it? I sometimes there's too much brochure, I guess, out there of the positive aspect, where there are positive. A lot of my journey was helping people became my healing. That kind of thing. But it's still work. Sometimes you have to make a decision of, what am I able to do? What am I not able to do? And then have that conversation, make those choices and then adjust. But I do like that you bring up that point, because I think we're a culture that likes to help. I think we are empathetic. I think all of us can agree it's harder to see our loved ones in hurt than ourselves. But if I'm going through something that's hard, of course it's hard, but it's harder to see the closest ones to us. I think we're kind of made that way. We can't see the ones we love closest hurting. So I think I'm not concerned about the wanting of needing help. And in our communities, if it's communicated well, if we know what our limits are and we want to help, we don't put barriers that don't need to be there. And we're just like, okay, this is where I'm able to help, and understand that you're just part of a bigger picture, trying to help the community be a safer place, be a place where I can ask the question to you, Heather, I need help, and that's okay. I remember reading a lot during the Industrial Revolution, during the cities were all crammed up, and there were so many people together, but so disconnection. It was such a culture shock because there were people clumped in cities that there never were before, like as they, and I remember reading just the commentary of the concern of how community was going to be affected by this, after the Industrial Revolution, and I feel we're still adjusting. It's a big task, but I think when regards to community is it starts from you. It starts from you. What can you do? And I do like a lot what you said right there. Anything else you want to add? I was going to go into a little bit about yourself and sharing your story and everything.
There's an important place, which is to realize we're all going through our own lives, and you have no idea what somebody else is experiencing.
Yeah,
and they've got their own little community as well.
Yeah,
and so the best place to start is just to ask. Is there anything that you need of me? Is there anything I could do for you? Is there anything that you're lacking? Now, being a therapist and being like active on TikTok and YouTube, I get a lot of requests, and a lot of the requests I can't do myself. I can't be someone's psychotherapist in Australia.
Yeah.
And I don't have the wisdom of everything. So people will reach out to me and say, I have a severe eating disorder, and that's not my specialty. So I don't put up the burden upon myself that I need to help everyone in the accumulation of it. But there is a place of, but I could guide you somewhere. I could give you a suggestion, just like you did at the beginning of the podcast, talking about a suicide hotline. You might not be the person who actually does whatever it is the person needs, but you could hold their hand in the process while it's like going to someone's oncology appointment so they don't have to go alone. You don't have cancer, thank God, but being there to support the person that you care for. So there's a place, if you're willing, to say, what is it that I could offer that could bless you? We can't take away someone else's pain. We can't heal another person. We can only offer to try to support them in their journey. And so much times, that's all we really need, to not feel alone, to not feel unseen or unheard or unimportant. So start with the people that you would like to care for more and just say, is there anything you need of me? When my husband died, I have a couple of amazing friends, and one of them lives 3 hours away. And she literally came for Wednesday. She drove 3 hours to be at my house for about 2.5 hours, and then drove home 3 hours. She'd show up, she'd walk around my house, and she'd say, you have no food. And I'd say, I don't care. And she goes, going to the market. Your microwave is broken. I don't care. She helped me buy a new microwave. She said, you don't have socks. I'm like, I don't care. Laundry. Sometimes you just need someone to notice and to help you where you're not paying attention. You're in depression or grief or overwhelm or exhaustion. So everyone can show up if they want to in some fashion. So ask yourself, do I show up for others in life? Do I show up for myself? Do I show up for others? And maybe pick 2 people that you want to start showing up for and ask them, how do I do that? How do I love you better? How do I care for what your needs are more so? And that will open up a door of connection and friendship and support.
I like the idea of personalizing your response, and the idea that a couple months ago was Mental Health Awareness Month in the States, and I like the idea of remembering our names. Those who are something, because it makes it more personal. A lot of times when I'm working with clients, one of the problems, one of the barriers is, and you probably know this, is they'll feel there's a lot of shame, of course, a lot of residual shame, and they may be doing well, and I'm like, how's the medicine doing? And they're like, it's doing okay, but I don't want whoever is the provider to feel bad that it's not working. I'm like, why don't you tell them? Well, I don't want them to feel bad. You understand what I'm talking about. At the same time, it's breaking through those barriers that don't necessarily be there, and just like you said, feeling heard is a tremendous help. The idea that you're listening to someone that usually doesn't feel like they're listened to. They may not have answers or solutions to things, but feeling that they're just not a burden, that they're here, there's a human, they're going through a rough patch, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be always that way. Has been, at least what I've seen, has helped a lot. I don't want to switch gears. It's been great. Just asking you, share a little about yourself. What brought you into your profession? Anything you want to share regarding the community? Anything to those listening? I'd like to give new guests an opportunity to share a little bit of themselves or anything they would feel comfortable.
Sure, I'd love to. So the big picture is my mom was a paranoid schizophrenic. And so I grew up in a family that not everyone had the same reality. And it showed me that none of us really do. And we don't really understand what anybody's reality is. My mom chose to kill herself when I was 16, and losing her is definitely what caused me to want to be a psychotherapist, wanting to provide help for those who don't know where it is, or don't know how to ask, or aren't honest about things not working. And something that's very, very important is anyone that you're going to ask to help you in your journey, they're there to try to help. So if it's not working, you're not helping them either. They're failing you, but not knowing they're failing. So one of the best things you can do is be completely honest and say, hey, I really like you, and I just need to let you know this isn't working for me at all. What would work for me better is, or I don't like this medication, I'm really not taking it. Could we try something else? If you're not being honest with those people who are there to help you, you're not going to get better to the full extent.
Yeah.
And you're also not helping them be better at their craft. People who actually tell me something isn't working, oh my gosh, it blesses me hugely. Because then I know I've got to figure something out, and I'm about to learn something. And down the road, somebody else might need just that. And I don't want someone to patronize me. Oh, I like her, so I'll pretend therapy's working. No, tell me this isn't working at all. This isn't what I want.
Well, yeah.
I'll change gears, or I'll gladly pass somebody to someone else. The goal is to help you get the help that you need. Not that it has to be me. It doesn't at all, unless I'm the right person.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. And so with my mom, because I grew up in the 60s, you didn't even talk about mental health. I didn't even know what insanity was, or a 5150 until I had to find out what a 5150 was from my mom. So there's much more awareness now. Sadly, there's still so much stigma, but everything is both sides. I can look at myself as, oh gosh, something's wrong, I'm not healthy. And I can say, I'm incredibly proud of myself that I'm going to do something about this and change this. It hasn't felt okay like this, so I'm going to find some way, or some group, or some doctor to help me move into who it is that I feel that I am to be. It's always both. If we're looking at the problem, we're not able to find the solution. And so since we have a harder time looking at ourselves as a problem, okay, ill, okay, challenged. Okay. Not perfect. Okay. Then look at the growth side of, well, then what can I do? Where can I go? What can I learn? How do I help myself move beyond where I am right now? Because like I'm completely not accepting me right now. And I don't even want you to know that this is me right now. So how do I help myself shift? And how can I be gracious and kind and compassionate and loving with myself during this process?
Yeah. I think one thing I've been saying, and obviously it's very difficult to do, but accountability is not a bad word when you're in a safe place, when you're with people that, so that word always gets stemmed into something wrong with me, extending that I'm less valuable, consequently, because there's something wrong with me. This kind of cycle. But the idea is, no, I'm just going through a rough patch. I'm going to try to figure out what may be helpful. I love what you're mentioning, just being intentional of your care. It's not going to help anything if you're just trying to be light.
But is there something wrong with saying like there's something wrong with me? I mean, we say there is, but why?
Mm-hmm.
We're here for a whole long life. Of course, there's things wrong with you. There's tons of things wrong with you. Like I just turned 60, and so like I've done 60 years. Well, I haven't done the next 35, and I've never been divorced, so I haven't walked through that path. I haven't lost a life for a child, so I haven't gone through that path. I haven't had some horrific illness, so I haven't gone through that path. Like I haven't gone through everything. So how would I know how to do things I haven't done? And let's go even simpler. We've only lived what we've lived.
Exactly.
How could you know how to live what you haven't lived?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you haven't lived in major depression before, and you don't know how to do it. Why should you know how to do it? If it made sense that we all would know how to do it, none of us would be depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Look around the world. None of us know how to do anything. We're just trying really hard with who we are, hopefully, to take care of ourselves. But how sad it is that we put this expectation upon ourselves that we should know how to do life. I don't even know how to do today. I have confidence it's going to go well, but who knows? The thing that's amazing about us is we only can live truly in the moment. Mm-hmm. And we have no idea what's coming the next minute. I've done a really good job for 60 years, but yet I'll still feel apprehensive that I don't know how to do life. Of course they don't, because you create it. And so when you tell yourself, like, I'm just going to do the best I can, probably going to make a gazillion mistakes. And from that, I will learn and change. Mm-hmm. There is no perfection.
No.
It's all subjective. And we're all really good at some stuff, and we're all really bad at some. And the more you let yourself have peace and comfort with that, that's why we're in a world of 8 billion people, because somebody knows how to do it. There's no way you can know how to do everything. And if you did, gosh, I mean, how weird it would be to be in a world where no one could help you in any way because you were so beyond everyone.
And how lonely that would be.
Yeah, it'd be so. Or you'd have no time to yourself because people would be reaching out to you all the time because you're the grand poobah of all knowledge.
Yeah. And I one person once told me, and I feel that it's similar to what you're saying. We're always kind of unfinished. Really, we're here right now.
We're unfinished. The end. Some days it's fun, but we're not finished.
I feel like when it comes to relationships, connections, they're all kind of, they friendships go through their cycles. I have friends that I love and care about, but they're in a different part of their life. I wish them all the best. It's just our lives are not intersecting right now. It's just how things go. There's seasons for that. So the idea that things are unfinished, at least it gives me comfort, because this constant urge to be enough to be enough, and like, oh, I need to have these unrealistic expectations that I should just know these things. I think you bring up a really good point when it comes to this idea that if it's an illness that you never experience, or even if it is something you have, we're never, the idea that we won't know what to do is expected. There are professions built on that idea. That's why you go and try to seek help. So I feel sometimes we put ourselves in unsolvable, problems, and we get discouraged. Not to minimize the experience, but more be kinder to yourself. We started talking about being, we talked about being nice. I would say don't be nice because it's so broad and doesn't really describe anything. When we're little, we're told be nice. What does that mean? Basically, don't be annoying. I don't know what that means. So being kind is, I liked what we said in the beginning, but there's this African proverb that I also mirrors what we're saying. You could go quickly alone. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We're people who need people. We need each other. As much as we say we don't. I know I'm pretty good at certain things. I know other things. My wife is much better. so this is a thing to just kind of learn. But if you're not, if you now, I guess accept that we have our strengths and our weaknesses. I find a lot of my understanding is understanding my weaknesses. If you just focus on your strengths, okay, you pat myself on the back. But my weaknesses, knowing what my weaknesses are, makes me stronger.
That's where you grow.
Yeah.
That's where you grow.
Yeah.
And the word enough, it's so subjective. And even when you say it, I want to be good enough. No, you don't. And I say to people, I am not good enough. I'm amazing. Like, I don't want to be good enough. That sounds like, okay, you're a C. But it's completely subjective.
Yeah.
And it changes all the time. If I'm feeling great about me, I love myself. If I'm struggling, I'm having a harder time. So it's all fluid. But it's important to remember that. Everything is fluid. How you feel about yourself is how you feel about in this second, before you make that silly comment, or before you win the lottery, or before you fall down, so it changes all the time. And there's that place of, are you aware of that within yourself? And are you aware of that place of offering yourself, I would hope, continual kudos, like you're trying really hard. You know what? You didn't give up. Okay, you didn't resolve it today, but you didn't give up. And I'm going to be really proud of you, with you, for you. In that, we'll figure this out, or we'll find someone who knows how to do this. We put so much shame and judgment upon ourselves. Instead of just saying like, wow, I have to walk this life with me always.
Yeah.
This body, like this mind, currently this location, this family. Can I let that be what it is? Not good or bad, just this is who I am. So how do I take who I am and try to take the best care of it, and try to give myself the best life that I can, so that I enjoy this experience as much as I can? Then it takes it away from a good enough. It's really the place of, I value me, and I value my life. And so therefore, for me, this is rich. And this is profound. It's up to each of us to decide, how are you going to live your life? And that comes down to, what do you do every day? And a lot of that is, how do you choose to view today? Are you grateful you have it? Or are you just wanting today to be over? There's a lot of people who live life just wanting life to be over. And I know when mine is done, I hope I will say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the gift of this life. I didn't do everything well, and I didn't even probably utilize a ton of the time well, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to be me, and to be human, and to have this experience, because we're never going to have it like this again. We're never going to have today again.
Yeah. And I feel, just mirror some of what we've been talking about, like being okay with obviously being unfinished, but also enjoying the process. Things are, the process of things. I think we're always planning to go elsewhere. I think the Beatles said it somewhere. I'm kind of being paraphrasing, but life happens the times we're planning things in between, not actually where we go. Like, it's the everyday jaunt. The idea that it's okay that things are unfinished. It's okay that that you're not here or there. You're where you need to be right now. In a sense, the idea is, if everything that will hinge on you being successful or happy is somewhere else, you'll never get there in that way. The idea is being content right now and enjoying, at least from my experience, the process, because there's always this uncertainty of things that externally that's out of your control that may hit you. But if your response is always so subjective, enoughness, like we're talking about, the idea of being enough, you're always at this constant state of devaluing yourself because you're never enough. But at the same time, I would venture to ask and have those hard conversations with yourself, because a lot of times I find that those are sometimes the biggest steps forward, is internal kind of conversations you have of who and what is important to you, what is better for me, what is success. I think some of the most successful people we'll never meet because their success so I remember, so I just want to ask you, National Wellness Month in the States, what would you want people in 2023 August to remember about? What would you want people to remember about this month? I think
it's a beautiful tribute to why we're here and how you choose to be here. And the older I get, the more I feel that our life is an expression of deciding and choosing to learn to love yourself. Mm-hmm. And if the focus is, I really want to learn how to take care of me, then you're going to then desire to help others do the same for themselves. And people will see it within you. They say you can't really love another until you love yourself. And I used to challenge that. Mm-hmm. Huge people pleaser growing up. And so I thought, oh no, I'm really good at loving other people. But me, And the older I get, the more I learn to love myself, the more I realize I actually love people better now. Mm-hmm. Because it's not based upon how they view me. Mm-hmm. It's based upon how they view them.
Yeah.
And that takes you to a lovely place. So with it being Wellness Month, with it being Community Wellness Month, there's the place of how well do we hold hands in this community without losing the ability to keep our grounding of who we are to be. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a situation where you feel it's compromised, what do you do to take care of yourself? It's important to step in where you've got something that you want to offer. And it's important to step out when you feel that it's somebody else's turn to do something, or where there's a place for you to care for yourself. It's beautiful, and it's kind of sad that we have to have a month to remind us it's a good thing to take care of yourself. Yeah. And yet we're so odd that we feel bad about doing it. People say, don't be selfish. And I agree, don't not care about others. But is caring about what I need selfish? It's self-care.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's wrong or bad. But we have spent so much life telling people you must please others. Forget you. It doesn't work. And the best way to please others is for you to be completely okay on your own, so they don't need to take care of you. And then you actually have more to offer.
Yeah.
And then you'll know when you need some help. And it's way easier to say, I have tried so hard. I've done everything I know how. I do not know how to do this piece. Could you please help me?
Yeah.
Because you're aware of what you do know. And when you're
Mhm.
aware of what you do know, you become a little bit more clear in what you don't know.
Yeah. And I feel that at the same time, it's, the model of pleasing others is separate from yourself. So that will be a lot more unstable than understanding what your values, wants, aspirations are. Because
I was trying to be a pleasing person. I try to be a pleasing person, not a people pleaser.
Yeah.
They're really different.
They are very different. It's not that I don't. Well, I love helping people. But I also understand my values, what is important to me, and that I am a person, a human, who is exceptional and unimpressive at the same time. I laugh at it because the fact is I have limits. But if you're okay with that, then I feel that when it comes to external things will change, but when you know yourself, take time for yourself, then it doesn't get rampant when the rain and it pours and it pours and it pours. Those times in your life, it's not hinged on other people. It's hinged on you. You decide what better is for you, what is important to you, and that will change because we're all in this process of moving forward. I want to ask you, any final thoughts you want to share? I know you shared a lot. It was wonderful talking with you. Anything, anything you want to share as we wrap up?
Well, I would love to just kind of nudge the listeners to think about where you're not showing up for yourself, and take a little time exploring that, and who in your life you would like to show up with differently. And then further step back. Is there a place within my family? Is there a place within my environment? Is there a place within my employment or my community that I see that they could benefit from one of the aspects that I really enjoy or that I'm really strong in? And there's seasons. There's seasons where you just need to take care of yourself. There's seasons where you're mostly focused on taking care of another. And there's other seasons where you're taking care of the community or you're being taken care of. And so let yourself be honest about what season you're in, and allow that help to come, whether it's from you or whether it's from others. Most of us are better at giving to others than we feel that we are in receiving. And it's a really beautiful gift for the person who's giving to have what they're giving received.
Yeah.
So remember that.
A lot of us, I think there's a time when you get adulthood that receiving something's harder. As a kid, you're like, yeah, I got a gift. When you're older, it's like, no, I don't. I'm okay with giving, but I don't want to receive. And I do love that you mentioned that, and also just even piggyback.
The nature of a gift. A gift is I want to do for you.
Yeah.
So if someone comes to you with a gift, you go, no, I don't need that. You're basically saying, I don't want you to love me, and I don't want you to care for me. The reason they're giving the gift is not, well, it might be that they think you can't for yourself, but most times it's not. Most times it's just to bless you. I just had a birthday, and I received some beautiful flowers from a couple that I adore. I didn't need them. I'm so grateful to receive them. They're beautiful. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And if they had sent them to me on a day that it wasn't my birthday, I still would have been so grateful. They wanted me to feel loved.
Yeah.
I want to feel loved.
Yeah.
I want to keep loving me. So if I reject you trying to express to me that you love me, you very well might stop. And I don't want you to. So let yourself realize the reason you're uncomfortable is because you're feeling a little bit touched.
Yeah.
Touched is a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And so let yourself feel uncomfortable and tell them, oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
Mm.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for caring about me. It's not, do you need it?
No.
It's, will you let yourself be blessed with
Mhm.
it? When Ted died, my late husband, and people were offering stuff, I didn't want anything. And then at one
Yeah.
point I thought, but I don't want them to not feel they're important. So I took the case of water, knowing we'd eventually drink it, or the paper towels or what have you. And I realized it wasn't so much, no, I don't need paper towels. It was they were wanting to offer of themselves.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's gorgeous.
It
And
is.
so look for it what it is and don't lessen it. Just be grateful. Someone sees you as someone that they want to bless.
Yeah.
And know you've probably done a really good job blessing them, or they wouldn't even think of doing it. And if you haven't, then you've got the opportunity to do it back and to do it for others. Every place we feel uncomfortable where someone's doing something for us, where we feel, oh, no, not me. It's a beautiful opportunity to kind of go, oh, okay, God, okay, universe, help me in this. Help me be able to do this for others, and then shift, take it in, and then say, oh, I'm going to take this case of water and hand it out to my whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
Pass it on. Pass it on. Don't end it with you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not really growing community.
Mm-hmm. I just want to share an illustration came up to mind while we were wrapping up. The best example, I think, that illustrates what we're talking about is when I'm in elementary school in an art class, I make this thing that I thought was my mom, she takes it, she values it, she cares about it. And she probably still has it. It's probably the worst artwork ever, but it's valued because of the person behind it. So when we're talking about receiving, think about that. Think about the person. Don't think about the gift. Think about why are they there? Why are they giving you this gift? And I really thank you for mentioning that, because that's a very important point when we talk about community. Again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I just want to share with those who are listening. Remember to stay updated with Revive Ministry through various platforms. Revive Ministries, ReviveMinistriesFL.com is our website. And I want to leave you with this last quote. It's from Coretta Scott King. It said, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members